There had to be a surrender, and you need to let go to create space for the new. If I am constantly in here feeling like I need to continue to prove myself that I am this type of mother, continue to do this and show up in this particular way, where does the me get included? How do I then surrender to some newness? And so that's what I hear when I hear letting go.
Welcome to the Multiple Truths podcast. We're your hosts, Holly
and Brittany. This is a space where we can come together healing in community, where we share our self-love journeys, insights, and wisdom.
A space with no hierarchy or judgment, fostering love, compassion, and respect, and where we honor our differences. With open minds and hearts, everyone's truth is welcome here. We are in this together. Let's dive into the episode.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Multiple Truths podcast. You are listening to Brittany today. Today, I'm excited because I have a friend of mine coming on the show, Kiki Orr. She's honestly such a beautiful spirit, you guys. I met Kiki when I was in Peru. So for those of you who have been following me for a bit, you know that I was in Peru in May. In May, so just a couple months ago. And we got to spend some beautiful time together. And just through conversation, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to have this woman on the podcast because she just has a beautiful voice. She has a lot to share, and I feel like her voice and her wisdom should be shared. So I'm really excited to invite her on today. In our conversation, we talk a lot about the transition between being an active parent to letting your kids go, for lack of a better word, just the transition from having the kids in your home to them leaving one day. And she talks about it being, she's an open nester instead of an empty nester. She's an open nester, which we talk about in the conversation. So I don't want to dive too much into it, but a little bit about Kiki before we jump into the episode. Kiki Orr is a storyteller, and you guys, honestly, she's the best storyteller. Like, follow her on her social medias, and that woman just has me cackling. She is so just captivating, just such a beautiful and expressive spirit. I love her so much. But she is a storyteller, coach, and founder of the Open Nester Movement, a transformative lifestyle platform redefining what life looks like when kids leave the nest, but the woman stays open. Through her signature blend of honesty, humor, and heart, Kiki helps women navigate personal transitions from shifting identities to the real and often hilarious realities of pre-menopause. Whether she's talking hormones or healing, Kiki empowers women to reclaim their confidence and step into the next chapter of life with power and grace. Her work spans consulting, coaching, public speaking, and content creation across platforms like TikTok and YouTube, and she's on Instagram as well. She offers tools and stories that remind women it's never too late or too early to bloom. Kiki is a living testament to what's possible when we choose ourselves. So without further ado, you guys, get cozy, get comfy, grab your coffee, grab your tea, and let's dive into the episode. So hello, Kiki. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here to have conversation with me today. How are you?
I am amazing and so happy to be here with you. Last time I saw you was in Peru.
In Peru. Yes, I have a huge smile on my face for those listening and maybe not watching. I have a huge smile on my face. Kiki, you guys, is such a hoot. She's, oh my God. I
It almost feels like
seriously.
an inside joke, right? It's like because you had to be there, but
But you know what? Your energy, and I'm not just saying this, like you're just like so magnetic. You're beautiful inside and out. And I know that sounds so cheesy to say, but you guys, Kiki, like I just feel so blessed to have met you and to, have spent time with you in Peru. Definitely soul sister energy. And
Mm,
in Peru, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to have Kiki on the podcast. We need to have conversation. I know there's a couple of things that we're going to talk about that I would love your insight on, which we'll get to, but we'll see where else conversation goes, trusting that it's just going to kind of go where it's meant to go. But for those listening, Kiki and I met when I was in Peru. I went to go sit with the medicine, as did Kiki, and that's how we met. And
that's right.
yeah, how are you doing since Peru, by the way?
I mean, I'm actually doing quite fantastic. And yes, we sat in the medicine ceremony not once, but twice, right? We did it twice together,
Twice,
right?
yes.
Twice, twice. And so the integration process has been quite revealing,
Mhm.
and I'm excited about it. But I will say, like, sitting here in this moment, first of all, thank you. Let me just
Mhm.
start by that and saying thank you for welcoming to your wonderful, amazing platform. And then number two is where I am currently. I'm in such a it's such a space of transition.
Mhm.
And so we will see how this goes,
Mm.
because everything about me is kind of fluid and
Mhm.
flowing, and some of it feels good and some of it doesn't feel
Mhm.
good at all, but I'm
Mm.
embracing every part of it.
Oh, I have chills, and I honestly feel you so deeply right now. I'm not exactly sure when this is going to be posted, but currently, for those listening, it's July 21st. And I too feel like I'm in such a place of transition and in the in between, for lack of better word. And
Mm-hmm.
it's beautiful, and I'm excited. There's certain areas that are really beautiful and exciting, but then there's parts that are that feel super sticky and uncomfortable. And I feel like a big piece of that is being forced to really surrender into the unknown, because there's parts where
Yes.
I'm like, I have no clue what's going to happen. I don't know what's next. I know I'm being called to do certain things, and it feels like a total risk. It's like jumping off a
Mm-hmm.
cliff and just having to like trust that God will have a net there, even though I can't see the net and I don't know
That's right.
how close the net is.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so I hear you. And I feel like a lot of the collective right now, especially people like doing this work, on the path of healing and bettering themselves, are really being pushed kind of beyond their limits, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, it makes
Um,
lots of sense.
so, one thing that I really wanted to talk to you about, so for those listening, before I get you to talk about this, when I first met Kiki, straight up, I thought that she was my age. And, this is not about age or anything like that. But I
Mm-hmm.
remember talking, and, Kiki mentioned to me that she has a daughter. And in my head, I'm envisioning like a little, like at the tops, like maybe 8 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like I was envisioning a young daughter. And you said something like your daughter's 30 or something like that. And I was literally like, wait a minute. I thought you were 30. And, I'm like, I need to do whatever you're doing because you look
Mm,
great.
thank you.
But with that, you talked about the whole open nester thing, which is what I
That's
really
right.
wanted to talk about, because obviously this is not something I've experienced. I don't have kids of my own.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to just kind of hand it over to you, maybe explain that what that is, because I just thought that it was something so beautiful and I really wanted to give voice to it, because I feel like for those listening, it might, yeah, just like touch certain people. So yeah, I'll just pass that over.
Thank you. And so, yes, I get that quite a lot, in terms of thinking that I am 30. In fact, I went out someplace recently and everybody's like, oh, I thought you were my age. And I actually talked about this a little bit about that on my TikTok, in terms of age and how we communicate with people depending on if we think that they are our age or not, right? And so, and how sometimes I only actually say my age depending on the situation that I'm in. If I'm talking to younger people, then I may say my age. And that's not just to do a hierarchy, but I think you engage with it and your hearing may be different. If I'm in professional settings, I may say my age because it feels like I have to prove my worth and prove like my skill sets. And I've been doing what I've been doing for a long time. So I'm very intentional about those moments. But yes, I have a 33, a 30, 33, 30, and a 19-year-old. And my 19-year-old has officially made me what I call an open nester. And I utilize the term and phrase open nester because you all know empty nester. Everybody knows what an empty nester is, right? And so open nester is a play on that, basically because I believe that language shapes experiences, right? What we speak can determine how the way in which we show up. And so when my youngest daughter went off to college, I said, if I see myself as an empty nester, then I'm more than likely going to be operating from a place of scarcity, right? Of lack. And I wanted it to be open to possibilities, open to joy, open to expansion, open to discovery, open to love, right? So I'm just open and open to receive. And so I was like, open nester kind of fits that. That does not mean, for anyone who is on that journey, that does not mean that there is not sadness. That does not mean that there is not discomfort. That does not mean that. But I think what it does and has demonstrated for me is that I don't wallow in that space of it, right? Like I could have been on the couch under the covers for a long time because it is the first time for me that I have lived on my own own in my life. I
Mm.
was a mom at 19 years old. And then prior to that, I was older sister. There was always someone in the home, even though I was on my own since I
Mhm.
was 18, but there was always someone there. So
Mm.
that's the term open nester. That's how I use it. And it's primarily focusing on that of those who are in transition and
Mhm.
re-identifying themselves to not be just seen as mother, but
Mhm.
like reclaiming their womanhood. Like,
Mm.
who am I as a woman?
Mm.
And so that's what it's about. That's what open nesting is about.
Oh, I love it. I just had full body chills as you were explaining all of that. And I think it's something so important to talk about because for whatever reason, there's almost like, I don't know if a negative stigma is the right word, but I feel like a lot of people fear, when their kids leave the house and all of these things. I see stories where, moms in particular, and I'm sure this happens with dads too, but they all of a sudden start getting super like almost weird with like their, let's say, sons' new wives, or you know what I'm saying? They have a
Hmm.
tough time when their kids leave the home, and I think a big reason for that, and this is not judgment, I've never been in the position, so I can't speak
Right.
for it, based on experience. But I feel like a big reason for that, which you touched on too, is in the society that we live in, and this is to the fault of nobody, but in the society that we live in, mothers just, it's like they take on that as an identity and their only
That's right.
identity, and they lose themselves in the process because there's so much pressure put on moms. You know what I'm saying? Like moms are,
That's right.
they are expected to show up in every way for everybody else but themselves, and I feel like as a society we have forgotten the importance of what it means to be a mom. I
That's
feel like
right.
being a mom is the most important job in the world, and I feel like mothers should be highly regarded and highly respected. And I just feel like in the society we live in, we really have forgotten the value of that. Therefore, mothers aren't given the proper support. You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
as a result of that, people lose themselves. And then when their kids leave the nest, it's like, of course, there's that grief, which I know you
That's,
touched
yeah.
on, but
Hmm.
they consume themselves in that grief, right? Because they are not seeing the other side. And I love how you talk about the other side of it. Just the openness of like the possibilities, like you are still, it's like just because your kids are gone, it doesn't mean your life is over. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
You have a
Hmm.
huge life for yourself. And I think it's important to, yes, be excited for potential grandkids and stuff like that, but don't wait for that. It's like living your own life outside of your kids' lives as well. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, that's my kind of little piece on
No,
all of that.
yeah, that's really good, Brittany. And I feel like you touched on a couple of things. You talked about, you mentioned grief, identity, and then I'm going to just really say it's the reclaiming of self, right?
Mm,
Because there is sins to be a loss or a sense of loss of self. And
mm,
for someone like me who has started parenting at 19 and then had a very challenging upbringing,
mm,
I never really got to know who I was, right?
mhm,
Who I am, right? It was often about the life was designed about taking care of others. That's
mhm,
how my life was set
mhm,
up, to take care
mhm,
and nurture other people. And I'm not angry about it. I'm not
mhm,
upset about it. I have no regrets about it. So I just
mhm,
want to be very clear, right?
mhm,
That
mhm,
that is being a mom
mhm,
is the is been the most beautiful, and it makes
mhm,
being it's the most beautiful,
mhm,
beautiful experience that I could have
mhm,
ever experienced in my life. And obviously I'm still a mother, but
mhm,
I'm mothering differently, right? I am
mhm,
more kind of used as a kind of a guidance, a guidepost. I'm there for them to check in with and to check in on one another and like support them in a different way than
mhm.
on that day to day,
Right.
the day to day parenting. But I love, love, love being a mother, and I feel
Mhm,
like I am and was a phenomenal mother, in spite of all of the challenges that I may have come up against. So this is not to say that. And I think that that's where people kind of the rub comes up against, right? It's like, well, now the children are out the house, and I'm finding and stepping into myself. Does that mean that I was never happy being a mother? And it's
mm,
like, no, that has not one thing has
mhm,
nothing to do with another. So I think that that's what keeps a lot of parents from being excited about this next phase, because they say, well,
mhm,
if I'm excited about that, does
mhm,
that mean that I was not happy about being
mm,
like the day to day?
mhm,
No.
Mhm,
That does not
mhm,
mean that. That means you're excited about
mhm,
what life gets to look like for you now, that you get
mhm.
to focus your time on yourself. And we're
Right.
so uncomfortable with that. And it's so
Mhm,
new
mm.
that there is some shame that comes with it. There's some guilt that comes with it. I feel like I should be doing more is because you don't know what to do with this newness that
Right.
you are now experiencing. And so that's one of my goals and is my goal is to support other women in this transition
Mm,
from being an open, from what many have says, an empty nester to really getting into open nesting and what
yeah.
that gets to look like for you on that next phase of your life. Because it's
Yeah.
really beautiful.
Yeah, no, I have chills, and I think that's such a beautiful I think it's so beautiful, like, what you're doing and just, like, this whole thing, like I said, I was like, "We need to talk about this on the podcast," because I think it's
Yeah.
such an important conversation, but as you were talking, something that was coming to mind, the guilt, feeling guilty, like, "Oh, does it mean, like, I didn't love this?" And what was coming to mind because I feel like humans do that with kind of everything. Do you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like we are here to have many experiences. We don't
That's
need
true.
to identify ourselves with just one thing. And I know, like, I used to do this growing up too. Like, I remember I did martial arts actually for years. I used to teach Taekwondo. That was a whole lifetime ago. And I remember like quitting that to do something else. And I was like holding on for such a long time because that was my whole identity. I didn't know who I
Mm.
was outside of it anymore. It didn't mean I didn't love it anymore. And I remember like going into the office to tell the owners that I was going to be quitting and, basically not teaching anymore or anything. And I was bawling my eyes out. It was really, really difficult. And I know those are two very different examples, but I feel like just as humans in general, right, we don't know how to let go because
Mm.
we haven't been taught. So again, it's nobody's fault, but just because we really enjoyed something and it served a purpose and it was maybe a beautiful chapter or book in our life, it doesn't mean that there's not more to come. But in order to open up for that more to come, we have to be
Ooh.
willing to let go. And that comes with grief, that comes with confusion, that comes with the uncomfortable in between. So I love that you feel like it's your mission to like or part of your mission, I should say, right? We're here for
Yeah.
many reasons to help women with that transition because I feel like, there's so much beauty that can come on the other side if you allow it.
Yeah. Can I share? I want to share something with you
Mhm,
in terms of the letting go, right? So as we started, we know that we did ceremony together, right?
mhm,
And I'm not going to get too much into that, but I feel like I need to share this part. So ceremony one called me while in ceremony.
mhm,
I was, Mama Aya was like, stay, right? That's what I was told to
mhm,
do. So
mhm,
I stayed. But in first ceremony, I was a little bit confused, quasi confused by it, and so much so that what was coming up was everything in and around my children. And primarily my older two daughters.
mhm,
And I was feeling it was a lot of wound work that was
mhm,
happening, right?
mhm,
But the message was in and around letting go. But the way in which spirit was demonstrating it was very interesting. One, it was this thing about going to the bathroom, and then it was like my children's, but it was all about letting go. That was honey,
yeah,
letting go. And then the surrendering of it all. But I did not get that in that moment. When I got that, it became clear to me when I did ceremony the second time.
mhm,
Because in ceremony the second time, there was no talk about the children. It
mhm,
was the focusing on me. And I felt like that was just a beautiful arc. It was like, in
mhm,
order for you to receive you, you need to
mhm,
let go
mhm,
of this.
mhm,
In
mhm,
order for you to fully receive you need to let go of this. And part of me, when I was in ceremony one, was holding on so tight. I'm like, no, but these are my babies. These are my
mhm,
children. I cannot let them go. And it was
mhm,
literally going, like, showing me, like, cutting the umbilical cord. And
mhm,
obviously, my children are grown. So we know that that is symbolic, right? It's not the
mhm,
actual. But I was like, but no, I can't. And I'm like watching them go. And I realized in second ceremony that there had to be a surrender and you need to let go to create space for the new. If I am constantly in here feeling like I need to continue to prove myself that I am this type of mother, continue to do this and
mhm,
show up in this particular way,
mhm,
where does the me get included?
mhm,
How do I
mhm,
then surrender to some newness? And so
mhm,
that's what I hear when I hear letting go. And I needed to let go. And whether it's, and I know we're talking about open nester, but it wasn't that. It was some things that I experienced in a career that I once had. I needed to let go of whatever that pain was. And there was relationships,
mhm,
romantic relationships. I needed to let go of that
mhm,
in order for me to really like receive the fullness of me. And the fullness of me has been so beautiful that it constantly and consistently moves me to tears, because I am in the healing and the uncovering and the discovery of my truths. Some of them beautiful truths, some of them hard truths, some of them truths that I'm like, you could have stayed buried. Like, you did not have to. I do not. Why are you here? We do not need to do. Go back, go back, go back. But I also know that
Mhm,
it's there by design, and
mhm,
so I
mhm,
just like embrace it as it comes.
mhm.
So yeah.
Oh, no, I think that's beautiful. And yeah, I just have chills as you're talking again. And it's, energy, right? If you think about it, if we're pouring our energy so much into something, um, and it's not serving us anymore. And this is not me saying your kids aren't serving
No,
you anymore.
I got, I
You know
got,
what I'm
I got,
saying?
I.
You get what I'm saying. But if we're pouring so much energy into something, that's our energy, right? That's our energy. There's not going to be space for something new to come in if our attention is going somewhere. It's like anything, right? Let's say you have a project that you want to finish, a passion project, and you're super excited about it, and you're working on it, and then you get distracted and you find another passion project, and you're dividing your attention between two things. And hey, I do that all the time. So this is not me saying you shouldn't, but it's kind of like what you put your energy into, you're going to kind of get more out of. Or when you take a step back from something, even if you don't know what's next, that's how you open the space for more to come, even if you don't know what that is next. So yeah, it just feels like the letting go. And I feel like, even for me right now, I'm in a process of letting go. Like I'm literally grieving. I've been grieving,
Mm,
grieving my old self. Basically, I actually sat with mushrooms yesterday and I did a journey, and I basically had a funeral for myself. And the crying that came out of me, like, with plant
mm,
medicine, it elicits deep, deep, deep emotion. And it was like a guttural grief. And I was crying, but it was beautiful because I knew that the old story had to die. I had to let go of the
that's
old
right.
story, the version of me that was so programmed to receive disappointment, because that's what I was used to. It was so deeply programmed in me from childhood. And that's what kind of showed up in my relationships and stuff like that, like this cycle that has repeated because my nervous system, was kind of like, I'm struggling to articulate this exactly, but when your nervous system is used to something, that's how things are repeated unless you create that safety and let go of the old story. So I had this
Mm-hmm.
like funeral, which sounds like really interesting, but that's where the journey took me, and I cried. And then I know now that I'm making space for like a new story to really come forward, even down to, and it's crazy. Okay, this might be TMI, but I don't even care. It's crazy how the body, like, really, like, I've had diarrhea, you guys, for the last 5 days, but that's grief. Like, when your body's going through grief, often it, like, purges,
Mm-hmm.
and that's, like, a sign of, like, releasing. So I'm like, "Whoa," even down to a physical level, like, I'm making
That's right.
space. I'm, like, really purging right now. So again, like, it's July 21st. This will probably be posted in, like, a month's time, but I feel like a lot of people are just moving through these uncomfortable, like shedding, letting go,
That's right.
grief, and that takes so many different forms. This episode is brought to you by The Beehive. Holly and I created this online space with such deep intention because we know how lonely and isolating the healing journey can be. And what we've truly come to know is the importance of a safe community that understands you. We've both experienced the power of being witnessed, held, and supported, and that's where true healing happens. The Beehive is a grounded, heart-led space rooted in connection, reflection, growth, authenticity, and self-love. It's a community built on grounded spirituality, not bypassing, but coming home to yourself through your body, your truth, and your lived experience. While we honor the magic of the mystical, we also know the importance of staying rooted. Inside, you'll find real tools, embodiment practices, and a community of like-minded people who get it. It's a safe space where all are welcome, where your wisdom, your struggles, and your growth are honored. If you've been craving a down-to-earth space to heal, grow, and feel supported, we'd love to welcome you into the Hive. Only $22 USD a month. Link in the show notes to join. We hope to see you there. But I'm curious, with the ayahuasca, I was just, like, laughing. I don't know if you wanna share this story, but, when you went out to the bathroom, just because
Oh.
Kiki's such a great storyteller, you guys, like, she's literally the best storyteller I think I've ever met. Um, just the story of you I don't know if you wanna share that story.
Which one? Which one? The one because there's two bathroom stories.
Hmm.
There's two bathroom stories. There's the story of me sitting in ceremony one
Mhm.
where I needed to kind of go but didn't want to ask.
Mhm,
That was the
mhm,
one. And then I
mhm.
went out and what I saw.
Yeah.
And then there's story two, which when we did second ceremony and I did what happened in the back. Well, I won't reveal too much, but that's what happened. And then they had to come in and clean up behind me. I don't know which story we're talking.
I was
Sounds like it's the first one.
I was thinking of the first one, but whatever one
Okay,
you
but
wanna
let's do
share.
the first one. No, I think the first one is cool. But and before I get into that story, I think one of the beautiful transitions and one of the things that you said in terms of new story, kind of new journey, I'm looking at as a paradigm shift is
Mm,
occurring, right?
mhm,
There's really this beautiful shift, and when I share the story, because I'm honoring that shift, I think the beauty of honoring that shift is going to lead me into sharing kind of what's my new story? Where am I
mm,
now?
mhm,
What has been uncovered and how have I been living
mhm,
in my open nester, journey. So,
mhm,
but the story, which I think is
mhm,
beautiful, it's funny. Well, let's see how it lands this way. So I'm in ceremony and I needed to go. So before ceremony, you prep, you make sure you go to the bathroom, all of that stuff, right? So I'm in ceremonies and I already taken the medicine. We were about 15, it felt like maybe 15 minutes or so into ceremony. My eyes are closed, and then I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. I think I gotta pee. And then I said, and I remember them giving instructions like you can go to the restroom if you need, and if you would like to ask for help, like you can ask for help.
mhm.
And so I remember that. So I open up my eyes and I'm like, I need to go to the bathroom. And I look, but things are moving. And this, I'm like, so I go, I'm closing my eyes back again. I'm like, I'm not going to the bathroom. Like, so I
Mhm,
close my eyes back again and I'm sitting and I'm doing some deep work. And again, my children are coming up and certain things are coming up. And I remember spirit saying to me, and this is where I first got to identify really spirit and ego, understanding that spirit is me and so is ego, right? This is not
mhm,
something outside of me.
mhm,
Spirit is me and ego is
mhm,
me. But
mhm,
spirit has a different voice and a different tone
mhm,
than ego.
mhm,
So spirit was like, you need to go to the bathroom and we're not going to be able to move forward unless you let go. And I was like, but yeah, but no, it's scary. But no, I'm not going in. Like, did you see what I saw when I opened up my eyes? I can't see in front. I'm not going anywhere, right? So I sat back down and I just was like, okay, let's try to let this go. You got this. But I could not, with what I think I learned this word from you, I could not journey. It was like I could not move forward
mhm,
until
mhm,
I let go. So
mhm.
finally, after going back and forth, ego and spirit, they in battle. You gotta let go in order to. Ego like, no, but did you see the darkness? Spirit is like, but this won't happen unless you do it. Ego is like, but baby, it's scary. They said you can ask for help, but no, that may seem like an interruption to the
Mhm,
process. I'm
mhm.
not doing that. So eventually I was like, okay, I do want what I want. I came here for the experience. I need to be fully in this. Okay, so eventually I go, I need help. But I didn't think anybody heard me. I need help. And so she comes over and she helps me, and I can see her but not really. So I grab her hand and I'm thinking, is it only you? Is it just you that's here? And she's like, yes. I'm like, it's just you, because it sounds like voices are coming from other places. It's
Mhm,
really a beautiful, I know it sounds trippy to you all, but I promise you it is the most magical experience ever. It's all about the healing. And this what had happened is part of my healing. And I just want
mhm,
to be very clear.
mhm,
This was part of my healing.
mhm,
I needed this. So we go to the we go and she guides me to the bathroom. And even in that moment, I wasn't trusting. I had to ask, is it just you? Is there anyone else? Right? I'm
mhm,
holding on. And I'm also holding on to this thing like, do I trust? And then I
mhm,
remember saying, in order for me to go, I'm going to have to trust her. Like
Mhm.
she got to, I got to trust her. Like
Yeah.
it's either that or sit down and pee on yourself. You choose, girl. You choose.
Mhm.
So we go outside and we step outside, and it is the most beautiful. Oh my gosh. I was like, this is plush. This is gorgeous. This is, I mean, it was beautiful. So I take
Mhm.
care of my business. But when I looked at her, I did not, whatever. It was beautiful, right?
Mhm.
And so we go and we come back in to ceremony. And I got to thinking afterwards, one, had I not let go, I
Mm.
wouldn't have been able to move forward.
Yeah.
Had I not asked for help, I wouldn't have
Mhm.
been able to let go.
Mhm.
Right. So it all
Yeah.
is together, right?
Mhm.
The asking for the support
Mhm.
allows space to let go. The asking for support allows me to be supported, creates
Mhm.
community. I
Mhm.
needed to trust in
Mhm.
that moment,
Mhm.
and surrender. And that was all the work that was happening. And then we'll talk about later how that maybe another time we can talk about how that how I thought that I got the message and then it came back again because it was
Mhm.
like we think you got it, but we're going to see if you really got it. But that was the story around the bathroom.
But there's layers, right? There's layers to all of it, right? So, and I think it's such a beautiful, just like, it might sound funny or silly, but it's such a beautiful, I can't think of the word, but yeah, showing you like it's okay to ask for help because especially with moms too, it's like they almost feel like they're a burden if they ask for help. I know like even for me for a long time, I was made to feel like a burden if I asked for help,
Hmm.
eldest daughter as well. And it's like it's beautiful to ask for help, and like you said, it was like everything outside, I remember when you explained the story to me, it's like you were living in cotton candy land or something like that, like everything.
Yeah. It was wait, it was so plush. Think about like marshmallows, but like grinded marshmallows, but also like cotton.
Mm,
And so the pathway was lit, but it was like cotton,
mm,
and the side of the buildings were everything was coming. The moon looked like I could reach out and touch it. It
mm,
was and I just thought, had I not come out,
mhm.
this is wait. Had I not come out, right? Had I just held on or whatever, I wouldn't have been able to experience the beauty on the other side.
Mm, mhm, mhm.
There was
Oh, we love that. Yes.
I wouldn't have been able to visit
Mm,
to experience the beauty on the other
mm.
side.
And
And I had no that's this blind faith. I had no idea that
mm,
last time I came in, I knew what it looked like out there,
mhm.
right? So I was like, go ahead.
You had to surrender and trust and embrace the unknown, then you were met with the magic, right? You had to ask for help, you had to surrender. Your ego was fighting you for a while, right? It was a battle, this
That's right.
back and forth. You chose to trust, and
Yeah.
look what you were
Woo!
rewarded with, right? Oh, we love the
Yes.
layers to that. Beautiful.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, so I just like I love that story. It always puts a smile on my face, but there's just such great, just like symbolism to all of it. And of course, there's layers to everything, right? Nothing is just as simple as having to go to the bathroom. Um, but I was going to ask with this whole, open nester thing for women watching, who might be in this transition currently. What advice would you give them?
Lean into it, right? Trust that you earned this moment. And I know that sounds very, but you've put in the work,
Mm-hmm.
you've planted the seed, you've nurtured, you've cared for. You are, in addition to the mother, the therapist, the doctor, the provider, depending on where you are in your family dynamic, right? For me, I was a single mom, even though I was married once and with my ex-husband, et cetera, but for the majority of my life, as a single parent. And so lean into it because you've done all that was necessary to be done, and you are worthy and deserving to have this time for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I see it as a gift. It is a gift. It's almost like if you think about it as graduating, you went
Mhm.
through and now you're graduating into this next phase, into this
Mhm.
next role
Mm.
for you. So lean into it,
Mhm.
embrace it,
Mhm.
trust it. It may feel uncomfortable, it may feel uncertain, but lean into that as well. Ask all of the questions, and the questions are not of anyone else. The questions are of yourself. What is this revealing of me? What is it that I am unwilling to sit with? And I
Mhm.
say that part because as a mom, what I am uncovering and discovering, and when I say mom, and I probably should phrase it more of like active parenting, right? As an
Mm.
active parent who's like
Mm.
on a day-to-day
Right,
active,
right. Mhm.
there was very little time to really sit in.
Mm.
There was
Sorry.
very little time to sit in the question. Right? The
Right,
question would be there,
right.
but then it's like I need to make the doctor. I need to do this, and whether it's for
Mhm.
the kids or for yourself, right? Because not everything is about the children and parenting too. There is, I am not a martyr. I did not surrender unto my kids and had no life at
Right,
all.
right,
That's
right.
not true,
Right,
right?
right.
And there was very little time to sit in the question.
Mm.
So what I'm offering is that when questions come up, sit in it because now you have time to
Mm.
sit in it. Now you have
Mhm.
time to
Mhm.
explore it and see what it reveals to
Mhm.
you. I would also advise that whatever the top three things is that you felt like you wanted to do it.
Mm. I love that. I love
Do
that.
it.
Do it. Now's the time. Yeah, I think that's
Hmm.
so beautiful. Um, I'm curious about your relationship with your kids and how that's shifted, since they've left the nest. Because I feel like that's something, and I could be wrong. Like I said, I haven't experienced being a mother myself, but I feel like that might be a fear. It's like if I let go, is the relationship going to change? Do you know what I'm saying? If that
No,
makes
I
sense.
know what you're saying, and I don't, and I'm gonna just pause for this moment and go and be like, okay, spirit, what are we doing? What are we doing? And why is this question coming up? But it's necessary. So and
Mm.
and so I'm okay, universe has a sense of humor, but I also feel like it's an opportunity because I would like to say that there are no tests. It's not a way to test me, but it's
Mhm.
an opportunity for me to lean into some hard truths, right?
Mhm.
And so you
Mhm.
say people may be worried about if things are going to change. Things have changed.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm in a season with my children that
Mm.
does not look like the season that was before this season.
Mm. Mhm.
Things have changed. I don't know what. I don't know
Mm.
why, but it
Mm.
has changed.
Mm.
And I have not yet gotten an understanding of it. And part of it is because I've been keeping space to say perhaps we're
Mm.
all in our various transitions and
Mhm.
everyone is learning and growing and doing their things. And particularly because my 19-year-old is out the house now. And so what we had is this very um right, this was, we
Mhm.
had group text messages always constantly like in each other's business and in each other's
Mhm.
lives and doing that. And then my youngest daughter went to college, and it seems like there's a shift. And again, I can't speak to what it is because I
Mm.
have not inquired as of yet. I think that's part of the work that I've been doing
Mm.
is sitting with that change and
Mhm.
also questioning myself in terms of
Mm.
not questioning myself, sitting with the change, but also ensuring that I get very grounded, that whatever the shift is does not mean that I did not do what needed to be done as a mother,
Mhm.
not internalizing or personalizing it.
Mm.
And I think that that is the biggest growth for
Mm.
me.
Mhm.
Everything that I did or do with my children, if something came back and they were displeased with it, or if they did not like something, the first thing I do is try to acquiesce or change it or move it because it felt like it's a me problem, right?
Right.
I did not know how to separate the act from the person, the deed
Mhm.
from the person.
Right.
And so they often went hand in hand. If you said you didn't like this, then it meant that you did not like me. If you said that this didn't
Mhm.
work, then it means that I don't work. If you say that
Mm.
this didn't, then it meant that there was something wrong with me as a
Mm.
parent. So I needed to sit with that so that
Mm.
when I get the clarity, that I am not internalizing it as
Mm.
something that I am broken or something like that. And so,
Mhm.
so yes, will it change? Possibly. Will it expand or go whatever? But whatever it is, I trust that it is for the benefit and the betterment of all parties. involved.
Mm,
And so that has been it's been a shift this last few months. So I'm
mhm.
not, in terms of that part of it.
Right, right,
I still have my 19-year-old, and she's home for the summer, and
right.
and I still get to active parent her, but
Mhm,
in a
mhm,
different way.
mhm.
But my two older daughters are out living their lives, doing
Right,
their thing, and we don't have that constant this that we once had.
right.
So yeah.
Right. Well, thank you for, your vulnerability with that, because that question was just popping to mind because I mean, like I said, I don't have experience with it, but I could only imagine, right, how it is difficult. It's like this being that you created that was the center of your world for so long, all of a sudden is doing their own thing. And I could only imagine, right, it can bring up wounds like feeling forgotten about, feeling abandoned, feeling like they didn't appreciate everything you've done for them. Not that those things are true, right?
That's
But I can only imagine that that's what comes to surface. Now, I can speak to a child's perspective, with my
mhm.
family and whatnot. Given all relationships with your kids are going to be different. Like I'm sure my relationship with my parents are, different than your relationship with your kids. But for me, like I remember when I moved out, I really stepped away for a while and I needed to heal. I needed to go within. I needed to find myself. And now me and my mom, for example, we're working on it, but things are healing truly in our relationship. And I'm really hopeful and I'm excited to see where that goes. With that said, it's like, from a kid's perspective, which I know you were a child too, so you also kind of have that perspective too, right? It's like, needing to find yourself in the world, and it was never personal to my parents ever. It's like
Mm.
I know that they had nothing but love for me, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that because I know not everybody can say that. And I've met you. I haven't witnessed you parenting, but based on me knowing you, like I know that you're such a great mom, and I know that your kids are so lucky to have you as a mom. That's just a little outsider's perspective from what I do know. Yeah, but like, for me, it was never personal ever. It was just what I needed to do to become a human in this world because, as I hate thinking of this, but it's like someday my parents aren't going to be around and I need to be sure that I can stand on my own 2 feet without them, and sometimes, maybe that space might be required if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it does make sense. And I think, and thank you for sharing that and sharing it from, the perspective of a child and his perspective of someone outside looking in. And thank you for acknowledging your experience of me. And I think that what's been really important for me is to acknowledge that experience for myself, right?
Mm,
To validate myself
mm,
in
mhm,
that knowing, because when I don't have answers, or when things don't seem to crystallize, the thing that I've been working on, that there's this immediate kind of blame game that happens, not
mhm,
to others but to myself. It's like I'd always say, no one can like, quote unquote, chastise me or beat me up more than I would probably have done it to myself, right?
mhm,
But
mhm,
always I look at everything as an opportunity
mm,
to learn. But the question is, how was I framing this, and what was the lens that I was looking through? And
mhm,
so for my children, for example, like my oldest daughter is married. She's 33, and
mhm.
she's been out the house for quite a bit.
Yeah.
My middle daughter also have been out the house for quite a bit. So that dynamic in terms of them finding themselves has been that.
Mhm,
However, I think what has occurred, again, making this up because I don't know, but a lot of reflection work, is that the connection, and a lot of it was them kind of supporting with the upbringing, or making sure that they were so closely connected because they have a sister at home that's 19,
ah,
right? So
mhm,
we would always chat, 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 and there was like some challenges in school. And my children, they will tell you, and I'm very clear on this, my children never had to parent. Even though I was a single parent, they never had to take on a role as
mm,
mom. They never had to
mhm,
step in as, I have to do this because my mother, that wasn't it.
mhm,
Anything was done from a more of a sibling type thing, not
mhm,
because they had to grow up faster than they needed to. That was never, I ensured that with every being
mhm,
everything in my being. However, what I do feel like occurred, and possibly, is that there was your young sister still in the home, and
yeah,
they wanted to ensure that like they were supporting in that. And then once she left, I feel like that was their moment to be like, we get to go to in many
Mm,
ways, right? She went to
mm,
school and we also get to go. And not
mm.
go is like, I don't want to be with my
Yeah.
mother because she's so,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
dreadful, because that's not who I am.
Yeah,
And I think it's just that they don't, that's that maybe she was the anchor, and the anchoring isn't necessarily
mm,
there. So everybody gets to, everybody is in
mm,
transition. They're
right,
transitioning from being that sister that's checking in on their baby sister, making sure things, or me always asking them for their support and their input, because there's
right,
11 and 13-year age difference. So it's a lot
right,
of kind of woo-saw for everybody.
right,
And
right.
so that, yeah.
No, I have chills as you're saying that, and I feel like, yeah, that's such a really good point. Yeah, and I could see how that's uncomfortable, but it is interesting the timing of ceremony, really having you to sit through those emotions of letting go only for this to play out afterwards
Oh,
because it's a part of the integration. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a part of the integration. And that's the real work right there. That's why I say ceremony. Yes, there is healing that can happen in ceremony, but most of it is like turning the lights on. Now it's up to you to, now that you're aware of it, it's like it's up to you to actually do that work to integrate, and the universe will support you in that. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, this is happening. This is your experience. This is your opportunity to integrate what you've
that's
been
right.
learning. And it's challenging, you know? So,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
that's good, Brittany. That it definitely is my opportunity, and it is playing out. And a part of the integration, because you mentioned sitting through shrooms, I have, as part of my integration, in
Mhm.
addition to having done ayahuasca, I have started doing microdosing
Mm,
of
mhm,
shrooms and caps. It has been the most phenomenal experience. So
mm,
that ayahuasca,
mhm,
coupled with therapy that I've been doing
mhm,
for many years,
mhm,
talk therapy, that is, and then now with the integrating of shrooms and capsules, and it's beautiful, how it works, and the person that get it, it's wonderful,
mhm,
right? But
mhm,
what I have noticed, and I'm going to use this as an example, it has nothing to do with necessarily what we're saying, but I'm on TikTok, right? And
mhm,
as Brittany said, I am a phenomenal storyteller. I love storytelling. That is
mhm,
my gift
mhm,
to the world. And I tell stories with the opportunities to have you stop, to have you pause, to have you question, to inquire, to rethink, right? The things in which you have been taught. That's what, right? I'm like shifting, but I'm not telling you what to do, because you do what you want to do.
mhm,
But
mhm,
I'm giving it enough that you'd be like, you'll
mhm,
consider, right?
mhm,
So with the dosing, the microdosing, what has been revealed to me is I am now able to recognize patterns really, really quickly, and not just
mhm,
the pattern, but also trace its origin,
mm, mhm, mhm,
and get, and I, as when I tell you, I don't know how much time we have, but when I even think about a story of my uh daughter, my 19-year-old, and I, and y'all know teenagers love them, but that she's also coming into her own like a young
mhm.
adult. She's home for the summer, and I was like, this communication is interesting. I don't know why we keep doing this.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't like this, because
Mhm.
it doesn't feel good in my body.
Right.
Sure, it doesn't feel good to you. And I said, as a mom, here's what I want to do. I don't want to have to be on you all the time.
Right.
I want to experience you in your young adulthood, in your womanhood. I want to sit down and have conversations and talk about shows and talk about the things that we could get to talk about, and do those things that's not constantly about you seeing me as the person that is corrective and telling you what to do and guide like that. You have been out of the house now for 9 months, in school, thriving, making choices and decisions for yourself. I don't want you to then come home and then get back into that kind of routine of, now I have to tell you. So we were talking about this. It was deep, deep
Mm,
conversation. I'm bawling, right? And
mm,
I'm crying, and sharing, like, I want to be seen not just in my mother role, but
mhm,
like in the woman role. And I
mm,
also want to honor you, and not
mhm,
just a daughter role, but as a young woman, right?
mm,
Because so we were sharing that, and she had asked me to help her with a call that she was having for work. And she was sitting on a call, and then she hung up, and then I asked her a question, and then it got us to like fussing. And I was like, you came here so that I could help you. How are we now fussing with each other?
right.
And then I said, you know what? Let me ask you this. When you came in here and you asked me the question that you asked me, and you sat here while you were doing the call, what is it that you really wanted from me?
Mm,
Like,
mhm,
how did you see the support
right.
playing out?
Mhm,
And then she shared with me, basically that she wanted the support that she wanted, but before she explained it, she said, "You know what? I think going forward, I get to share with you exactly what I need."
Mm. Yeah.
Because I needed to, so, but I get to share exactly what I need.
Right.
And I said, I think that I'm holding you to someone that needs me more than you actually need. And she
Right.
said, vice versa. And I'm holding, and I'm coming to
Mm.
you as if I don't trust in the things that I know
Right.
and can deliver on.
Right.
That was our breakthrough. That's the kind of
Mm.
paradigm shift. That is the
Right.
kind of deep work and
Yep.
deep healing that I'm
Mhm.
doing with myself.
Mhm.
And therefore, because she is in the space, even if it's for the summer, she's going to benefit from it.
Right, right. Oh, I love that. And I think that sounds like such a healing conversation, even though it was probably uncomfortable and sticky and, all of these things. Because, yeah, what's coming to mind, and I know this is something I struggled with for a while, like as a kid, as a child, as we all are children of somebody, right?
We're interrupting this episode to share something close to our hearts, our virtual healing circles. We have been loving them so much and meeting so many of you incredible people through them. Brittany and I are passionate about bringing people together to support one another and heal in community. We felt alone on our paths for so long, and coming together in community has been instrumental to our growth, and we've both seen the importance in it. We aren't meant to do this alone. In unity and vulnerability, we find strength, courage, and support each other on our paths back to ourselves. Our monthly virtual seminars blend discussions, workshops, and practices to nurture your mind, body, and spirit. Whether seeking guidance, healing, or a listening ear, our gatherings offer a safe, inclusive space for people to connect, heal, and grow. Join us on this journey of healing in community. Together, we can heal, grow, and thrive. Register for the next circle using the link in the show notes. We hope to see you there.
I feel like with my parents, they were super, and this is not me saying you were super strict, but they
Yep.
were super, super, super strict. And they always viewed me as the child, even when I was fully an adult. And they didn't leave me the space to, be an adult, or they still saw me through the lens of a kid and through the lens of, because they helped me with so many things growing up, it's like still wanting to take on that same role, if that makes sense. And it's
Hmm.
almost
Hmm.
like, like and I'm not saying that it was that exact same
No,
dynamic.
I understand.
You,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? But and that was like, and I feel like it's changing now, but that was really a tough transition, and I could see where, clashing can happen, because especially with teenagers too, when you're
Yeah.
really like, stepping in. I mean, 19 is definitely a young adult, almost 20, or will
Hmm.
be 20 soon, out of the teenage years. But I feel like that's probably common for so many parents and kids, when that transition really is happening, from them going from, the kid to more of an adult. It's kind of like, okay, as the parent, it's, I don't know if confusing, but it's kind of like, okay, I want to show up for
It's
my kid, but it's like, how do I, in this new way? I've never showed up for them in this new way before. So it's like this
exactly. It's
uncomfortable.
jarring. It's
Yeah.
jarring. It's very uncomfortable. And I don't think enough people talk about it. No,
Yes.
not enough people talk about that transition
Right.
into our children becoming adults and what that looks like, and in terms of how we relate to them. Right.
Right.
I actually did a video recently that said, I think I said, are we protecting or are we projecting when it
Ah.
comes to our children? Are we
Mm-hmm.
protecting? So a lot of the things sometimes comes from, or I'm protecting. So I realized with my youngest daughter, I was protecting her a lot, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
protecting is because what I didn't feel like. Anyway, let me just say, I felt like I was protecting her a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And in the protection, I think that caused more harm
Mm-hmm.
than what I was in, which was not the goal.
Right. Right.
But then it comes like, does she have her own voice? Can she advocate for herself? Can she do,
Right.
because I felt like I needed to take care of her. There was such a large gap between her and her
Yes.
sisters. I'm mothering different from a different perspective and
Right. Right.
place now.
Mhm.
It all looks different now. She's a baby that doesn't necessarily have to do the things that they had to do
Right.
when they were mother to 19, when 19. Now I'm 34, parenting from that particular
Right.
age and different
Mhm.
experience. So I get to coddle her more. I didn't necessarily have time to coddle my other
Mhm.
two, right? I didn't have space to do that. It was very just
Mhm.
like, they couldn't necessarily mess up in school because the lens that I was looking at is, I'm a single parent. I don't have time
Right.
for y'all to be acting up or doing anything of that nature because I can't leave my job. I don't have time.
Right.
Maybe I said it or maybe I didn't. Maybe it was subconscious. But
Mhm.
with my younger daughter, there's space to mess up. There's space to, cause I got the time now,
Right.
right? And so I think it, but I think it then can shape. There's other there are the consequences to that as well, and
Right.
some of them are being revealed to me. It's not wrong, and
Right.
I'm and
No.
that's where I'm trying to hold myself now, that
Yeah.
it's not wrong. I made the
Yeah.
choices that I made with the understanding that I have, and
Yeah.
now there's some truths that are being revealed to me,
Right. Right.
and I'm blessed to
Mm,
be able to have breath in my life, to have a
mm,
willingness, a know-how, a desire to
mm,
grow. There are
mm,
not so many parents that do that. There are not many
mhm,
parents that ask their children for forgiveness. I
mm,
have asked my children. I have, if
mm,
they say that I'm wrong, I sit with that. Like that, there's
mhm.
not many parents that do that. I am
Right.
a different breed, and I'm
Mhm.
sitting with who I am
Mm,
as that different breed that I am,
mm,
and I'm grateful for that. Even in my flaws, I still am a phenomenal woman. Even in my mistakes, I am still a phenomenal
mm,
woman. Even in the choices and the judgments that I did not, I'm still a phenomenal woman. And I'm
mhm,
noting that I'm saying woman now more so than saying mother, because I'm owning my
mm.
womanhood.
Oh, I love that. And I have chills. And absolutely, like we are human at the end of the day. We're all going to make mistakes. Every single one of us. I know that there's things that I've done subconsciously that I've projected onto other people when at the time that wasn't my intention. Like that's life, right? That's how we learn and that's how we grow. And I remember saying this to you in Costa Rica, like, wow, your kids are so lucky to have you as a mom because yeah, you are doing the real freaking work, which is not
Mm,
easy. You're reflecting, you're wanting to grow as a person. And that is a true blessing. To have a parent doing that true, honest, deep, reflective work is a gift, is a blessing. I look at you as a leader here. You know what I'm saying? Like you're going to be, you are already leading other women. Specifically, we're talking about this transition today, but it's like you're showing other women, other mothers, a new way. People. For people that haven't been taught this way, because again, it's nobody's fault, but we haven't been taught to like look at ourselves. It's second nature to project because that's all we know, and people do it at a subconscious level. It doesn't mean love's not there. It doesn't mean like
hmm
good intentions aren't there. So yeah, absolutely. I just want to kind of
Yeah.
validate all, not that you need me to
Yeah.
validate it, but
No,
um
but it feels good. It feels good. We don't need it, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't feel good, right?
mm,
And it does.
mm,
I receive it because we can validate ourselves as much as we want,
mhm,
and
mhm,
I do, but it definitely feels good to know that what you are experiencing and what you're showing up as and who you're showing up as, the validation, if you will, I think is a mirror reflection kind of coming back to me and be like,
mm,
oh, this is what I'm intending to put out in
mm,
this world. This is what I want people to experience, how I want people to experience me as. And the fact that you're holding that mirror up and say, yes,
mm,
I actually
mm.
see you as that.
Yeah.
I think that's the
Mm,
gift of the quote unquote
mm.
validation.
Beautiful.
So thank you.
Yeah, no, of course. And with that, I'm curious if there's any like final comments or notes or anything that you want to share with the audience today.
Well, I just want to say, this is a season for me, a personal season,
Mhm,
and it's beautiful. And I'm leaning into it. And I just invite you all to do the same. And while I know we primarily talked about open nesters and moms in transition, I do work with women who are moms and who are not moms, right? Women who are looking to be on the journey of something new, of breaking cycles, whatever that is for you, and like creating a new for yourself, and telling a different story. And so that's the work that I do. I consider myself to be a confidence coach. One of the things that I will say is that I did in 2.5 weeks on my TikTok what I could not do in 7 months, and that was grow almost close to 2,000 followers in addition. And I couldn't do that in 7 months, and the reason being is because I let go of perfection. I let go. So it's but for me, it's about patience over perfection, right? It's about process over perfection, right? That's what it's about, is sitting in that. And so I love to support other people in doing that. And yeah, that's me. I'm the confidence coach. I support women, and I'm a hoot. I'm a hoot too, honey. Like I'm just so much fun. I know you didn't really get to see all of that here, but I'm a hoot. I am a hoot and a half.
It's funny because I said that at the beginning. I'm like, she's a hoot, and I'm like, you are in the best way. And I'm like, where did that come from? And then it's making me think of like an owl, like the owl. But the owl is wise. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there's so much
Mm.
wisdom. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that too because I'm like, I just keep seeing an owl. But thank you.
Who knows? I might add that as another tattoo on my thing. And now I've been looking for another piece. So
I think that's
we
so
shall see.
beautiful. But thank you so much for your wisdom, your time, for your vulnerability today. Yeah, I know that I got something out of this conversation. I'm sure that the audience did as well. For those of you, sorry, you have run out of. Okay, hold on. There's a weird pop-up, but I'm just going to ignore that. For those of you listening, I will have all of Kiki's links to your social media and whatnot in the show notes below. So just head down there. Give her a follow, you guys. You're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube as well.
That's correct. Yes, correct. Yes, I'm on all those platforms. Primarily, TikTok is my love, and YouTube, but as the open nester. And you will get to experience that I am living the experience. I don't necessarily talk about it. I am the open nester, right? So you could follow me there. Yeah. So thank you so much.
No, thank you. So definitely give her a follow. Thank you, everyone, for listening, for being here with us today, and we will see you next Wednesday. Bye.
As we wrap up today's episode, we want to extend our deepest gratitude for joining us on this journey. Your support does not go unnoticed. If you enjoyed this episode and find value in our conversations, please take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback not only helps us grow, but also allows us to reach more people who can benefit from our community of healing and support. Every review, every rating makes a difference. Thank you for being a part of the Multiple Truths podcast family. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Multiple Truths podcast. Keep speaking your truth and spreading your light. We love you, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday.